everyone. Welcome to Rocket's new podcast series. Today we have with us Vishal Virani, CEO and co-founder of Rocket. He is the one who is actually starting the new era of vibe solutioning. And we have a lot to cover today, so stay tuned. Hi Vishal, welcome to the podcast and series 1. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Khyati, for taking this initiative. Generally, I'm the guy who never run after the podcast and always say no, but you push me hard and I'm here. I really appreciate your efforts.
Thank you so much for joining us. So Vishal, let's start from the jaw dropper. Rocket just raised 15 millions with Axel and Salesforce Ventures. We have almost 5 million in ARR. We have half a million of active users in the orbit, and the story is just getting better and better. Tell me what that means, and especially for someone who is hearing about Rocket for the first time.
Good question. 15 weeks, $15 million. It's not a bad thing. And to be honest, like in India, it's one of the largest round. Two, three things. First, like for our users, it's going to be like without any funding, we were like able to reach at this scale. Now with this 15 million is going to be like a fuel for us. And in the VC world, we always say is like, okay, if you are building a jet, then you need a jet fuel, and this money is going to be like rocket fuel for us, which will help us to escape the gravitational force and help us to land at the moon at the first destination. And when I say is landing at the moon, that means like we are going to come up with like lot many exciting features and like innovation for our users. For rest of the world, we are building it from Surat, and that's the kind of story that we are having. And by saying that, like, okay, anyone can build from anywhere. It's not about the Surat. Anyone can build from Brazil. Anyone can build from any remote location of the world. So if you have the idea or innovation, just don't get into a excuse trap. This is a simple example or a milestone that I want to dedicate to the entire world, the builder of the worlds, where they always shy away with the location. So like, okay, zip code does not matter. If you have the idea, just go and build it and just try to push hard, like just push your boundary such a way so you can achieve this. So like for the world, simple. If you have idea, just go and build. Do not
Awesome.
give any excuse.
I think Rocket is an inspiring story in for many reasons. First, as Vishal said, that ideas can come and you can start the story from anywhere. And also, if you have an idea, you can start that also with Rocket with a single prompt.
Absolutely.
So I want to get into the little bit of other side of the story also. As we know, right, a lot of people are saying that vibe coding is a crowded space. There are a lot of competitors already out there, but Rocket is not only just competing in the category, but Rocket is actually changing the category itself. From vibe coding, it's going towards vibe solutioning. What does vibe solutioning means, like for the layman, if you can explain?
See, as a vibe solutioning, I will consider as a very broad category. Vibe coding is a part of a vibe solutioning. So nowadays we hear about like okay, vibe solutioning, vibe marketing. Just today morning, someone wrote about vibe emailing. So right now, everyone is like, okay, if you are using a system and you are having a fun, that means a vibe. Either if you are doing a programming and if you are having a fun with the kind of an AI systems around you, you call it a vibe coding platform. But what we truly believe is like with the power of AI, it's not just about the coding, it's about the solutioning. And that's where we categorize entire a way of work into three part: a day zero problem, day one, and day two problem. A still coding is a day one problem when you already have an idea, when you feed it into LLM system properly, and LLM system like just give a output based on what you give it as an input. That's a day one problem. But what is about the day zero problem? It's like still we know like okay, figuring out that one idea is like the biggest problem. Fundamental issue with the LLM is like okay, whatever you will feed, you will get that result only. So ultimately, how you will structurize your prompt, how detailed PRD you will give it to the system is like one of the most critical thing. And as a day zero problem, what Rocket is trying to solve is like okay, just tell us what you want to build in just like two liners or a three liner sentence, and what we will do is like a craft the entire input for you, so that a drafting the input is a day zero problem. And that's where we are trying to bring the solution for our users, where we will help them to define the a kind of a problem statement by doing a research in the background. We are So ultimate goal is like taking all the cognitive load from the user side, put it in the behind the scene of Rocket, and that's where like user will try enjoying the entire journey without getting uh, into a trouble of like crafting a good prompts and everything. Now the day one which we are already solving, like okay, generating the very good quality code in the multi framework, like the Next.js, HTML, React, Flutter and all. And now the main thing which comes to picture is a day two problem. Okay, now you have a digital product you want to launch, you already hosted somewhere using a Rocket platform, like we are giving a support of Netlify. Very soon we are going to have a support of like AWS, GCP, Vercel and everything. But for the user, like we are building a software from like last 13-15 years of my career, and it's all about when you launch the product, a day two problem started, like how you will scale, how you will make sure about the security, how you will make sure about the scalability, how you will make sure about like okay what user wants on your platform, where user is dropping, how you will analyze all the funnels. So ultimately what we are trying to do at a day two problem is like we will help users to analyze all the data, and will again help them to draft the input for them, like okay, now you are having a 5 pager applications, your users are dropping over here, can you just tweak your UI a little bit, and that's where you will get the real revenue. From the beginning of the Rocket, our clear vision is like we want to create the impact. We just don't want to create the POCs and the prototypes for our users, which user don't know like where they will use. So ultimately creating such an advanced agentic ecosystem for our user was the goal from the beginning, and now we are moving towards that. And when we realize like okay what impact we are creating on user life, that's where we realize like okay, this is not another vibe coding platform, this is going to be a vibe solutioning platform where our user will get like everything that they want to build, grow and scale the system. And that's all about like a vibe solutioning platform where we are solving the problem of day 0 and day 2 along with the day 1 problem.
Awesome, love it. So as you guys heard, Rocket is not just vibe coding platform. It is a vibe solutioning, and it is solving every problem from day 0, day 1, day 2 and every iteration that you build with Rocket. But Vishal, I know we are talking about day 2 and all the future, but I just want to take you a little bit back into the history where it all started. Let's go back to the Surat and share the journey about how did it all started? When did you actually realize that prototypes are not enough and the vibe coding tools are also not enough, they are not solving the right problems, and there is a real need for a solution like Rocket?
I think we need to record a separate podcast for if we get into history. But if I just summarize it, like as I said, like throughout my life, we build the software for like many companies. Like I started in 2013. We were building a software for like 200 plus customers in 24 countries across like 10 domains and all, and we realized a kind of in pain. Then in 2020, we started device where like the first thing happened, like okay, how we can automate the entire software development life cycle, and that was like a pre LLM era. And then with the power of AI we realized like okay, whatever we are doing is not making any sense. It's just solving a some part of in like users life, but not the end to end. And at that time, like okay, all the vibe coding platform were coming out of market, it was like growing super fast, people were liking like how they're generating the prototype and all. But on the other side, like they were complaining a lot, like okay, after 30th message in this particular tool, it's not doing a proper job, or like I want to build a full-fledged system, but still it's like giving me a one-pager applications or a very basic landing page and all. And when we look at our engineering of like whatever we're doing in the as an internal tool, it was so powerful. Like we decided, we were just having a brainstorming like okay, can we just re-architect this entire thing for the world where user wants a solution, not just in one basic prototyping and all. So like my co-founder and me, everyone sit together, like we did the whiteboarding and all, and we decided like okay, this is the time to make a real impact on users life. And that's where like we decided to wind up like our entire startup, which was like Figma to code platform. And we decided like okay, this can be just one feature of the new platform. And at that time we haven't decided like Rocket as a new name, it was just in like kind of in concept. We were doing like feasibility check and all, and team was like super excited when we look at the results of our POC, and it was like way ahead than all the platform of the world who like utilize hundreds of millions of dollars to build something vibe coding toy. I call it, it's still not a platform. where you are able to generate like basic prototypes in the landing page, and where versus like we were able to generate like full fledged applications in a multi framework language, and even in the POC part. And we decide like, okay, can we just build this entire applications in a way where user can use it directly, and that's where we come up with the concept of vibe solutioning and the Rocket as a platform. And ultimately we build it in just couple of months by using all the learnings of like our past venture. We launch it in market in around like June 2025, and then rest is history.
Awesome. Love the history. And also, those who don't know, Rocket Crew has been working really hard past few weeks, and Rocket is actually in the process of building astronauts globally now. There is a builder out there everywhere, every part of the world now, and building softwares, production ready softwares with Rocket. So, and also another feather in Rocket's crown is now from Surat, Rocket is all the way to Silicon Valley. Now we have an office in Palo Alto. What do you say about this global reach?
See, we always truly believe it's all about the user centricness, and we know like our user is sitting here, like they are using us, they are constantly giving us a feedback. So Palo Alto is going to be our front face office for our users, where they can interact with us, they can share the quick feedback with us, and India is the place where execution happens super fast, particularly in our case. So definitely, we are super excited to set up this office. Like recording this podcast in the Palo Alto office, like it was a kind of a dream before like couple of years when I was visiting the Silicon Valley for the first time, like when we will have office in this space, because like this part of the world works very differently, and here like you will get the appreciation for whatever you do, and particularly if it's impacting the world, then like people just give you like lots of feedback in a no time. You can just call everyone for a dinner and like just present your idea, and you will receive a tons of feedback. That's where you can improve a lot, and ultimately that's why like, and that's the only reason like we are super excited about this particular place. And yeah, so ultimately Palo Alto is going to be a brain in the future, where will make a decisions, like we'll hire people who can help us to set the directions, versus on the Surat location, like we will hire the greatest of the greatest engineers who can just execute in the best possible way. So it's like a best combination of achieving our product velocity by having the office in Palo Alto and Surat, and like covering like almost 18 hours to 20 hours of support for our users. And that's why I said like it's all about that user centricness. Like we don't want to just create a fancy office, but like how we can utilize this place to give us support, to ideate the new things for our users. So ultimately like build in public with them is something which is like in our mind when we are setting up this office, and when we make the decision of like setting up the Palo Alto office. And as I said, like okay, now, because now we have the two location, we can cover like 18 hours of like support, which is the key thing for me, because like it's all about our users.
Absolutely. And I know you are being very modest, but guys, the office is really fancy.
All credit goes to you.
And we are also hoping to host a lot of events and have a lot of folks coming here and start building applications with Rocket in house. And so we can also support a lot of folks who can come and build together with Rocket with us
Mm.
in person.
Yeah, so that's the idea. So it's all started from a user who is sitting in the New York, who has like a zero programming knowledge. And still I remember like when we launched it in June, after like 3-4 week of launch, like I was in New York, and then we traveled to SF, and Deepak and I had a trip to Lake Tahoe, and that user just dropped me a message like, Vishal, can we connect? And I said, yes, why not? He said, I'm from New York and I'm building a healthcare solution. I said, okay, it's a random use. At that point of time, he was a random user for me. But as I said, user centricness is something that is like kind of a DNA of our company. So I said like, yes, I'm on the way to Lake Tahoe, so I may not able to connect over a laptop, but we can take a simple WhatsApp or a Zoom call. He said like, it's fine. We connect, and he said like, okay. The first impression of that user was like, Vishal, do you know what you guys build? And I was like worried little bit. I said like, did we make any mistake? And he said like, no, this is like a next level thing. This is kind of a dream comes true for users like me, who always wants to build a serious application, but right now no one is there in the market. I'm having a 16 years of experience in this professional field, but I never able to do my own startup. But with this, I'm able to do that.
Mm.
And that's where we realize like how support is critical, and how what user wants to tell it to you. And then we said like, okay, how I can help you?
Hmm.
He said like, okay, I'm very good, but I don't know anything about the database. I don't know anything about the HIPAA compliances. And I know because if I'm launching it in New York, like HIPAA compliance is one of the critical
Hmm.
element. So I said like, don't worry, we have a support team, which is another unique part. And that's kind of an India advantage for us. We
Mhm.
understand like, okay, how to provide the support at scale. So I said like, okay, I will give you one member from my team. You can just talk to him. And that's how it started. And then we realized like when you give a human touch in AI, it creates wonders.
Hmm.
And that's where like we want to create that support system where people can talk to us, can build their production grade applications with help of us. And that's where that magic will happen,
Mhm.
because like still we know like, okay, doesn't matter how much AI get advanced, but as an end user, when they want to build something and put it in the production at the serious level, they always need one confidence of that human, like, okay, is it ready to go live?
Yeah.
And if you said yes, I check everything, you can go live. There is no security breach or like definitely like we check everything. There is no any security constraints and anything, just go live. And that's the kind of an feel that they get, like, okay, there is someone who is there to welcome me
Yeah.
in the family. And that's where this office is going to play a vital role, because as a user you can come in our office, you can just walk in, you can just ask us a question, and we will tell you how you can take this application to a production and how you can scale with us.
Mhm.
And that's where this is going to be like super exciting.
Awesome. So, Vishal, you used a very important keyword. It's called production ready applications. So, I want to understand more. Anybody can create production ready applications. Who actually Rocket is for? Who is the right audience? Who is the right user? Who is the right persona? Do they have to be technical? Do they have to be product mindset? Do they have to be an engineer? Like, what does it mean for anybody?
So, like our goal is to democratize the entire way of people building the application on the internet. So anyone can build application on the Rocket platform. Like yes, but depends on like what kind of an application. I want to be like very genuine with our users. Like, okay, anyone cannot build any kind of a production grade application. When I say it's a very broad word. Okay, if you are building a very detailed ERP and if you have a zero technical knowledge, then you are going to have a little bit of trouble. And that's where you can use a Rocket support system. That's where we will help you to navigate, because it's a very large system has a capability, as a platform has a capability, but you don't know anything about the database schema, if you don't know anything about the authentication and all, then my advice for our users is to start slowly, like, okay,
Mhm.
build a very basic application, try to get try to understand like what is authentication is all about, try to understand the database, maybe a small applications, and then you gradually you can grow. If you are a developer, then we are have a facility where you can just bring your private API collections. You can build any kind of an application, the complex to complex applications, where you can do a third party integrations, private APIs. You can integrate your private APIs. You can modify the code. You can build the business logic and everything, and you can make your application production ready. So ultimately, you need to understand like, okay, what kind of a background
Mhm.
you are having. I'm not saying you will not able to build anything, but if you never build application in your life, you can build a basic application. If you
Mhm.
directly jump to build a very large CRM, then you feel like, okay, this platform is not for you. But if you are a developer, then you feel like, okay, I can build any kind of an application. So that's why the kind of a fundamental belief that we are having as a company, like, okay, we want to be very genuine, like, okay, we know like we are living in a marketing hype. I just don't want to tell our users like, okay, you can build like any dream application using our platform. Yes, you do, but you need to invest the time. You need to understand the AI, you need to
Mhm.
understand the Rocket platform,
Mhm.
and step by step you will able to do it. But still you have urgency, like, okay, I want to build it in the next 15 days. That's where like Rocket support come into picture, and
Mhm.
it's not going to be cost you like in millions of dollars to build a larger system. So consider like, okay, in a nutshell, doesn't matter where you are in your journey
Mhm.
of building application. If you are coming on a Rocket platform, like minimum 10x ROI is guaranteed. Like, okay,
Oh wow,
if,
I
if
like that
someone
number.
yeah, if someone is saying like, okay, this application will cost you $10,000, and if you are building on a Rocket platform, it's going to be like just
Mhm.
$1,000. So ultimately, doesn't matter you use our support or not, the minimum ROI that you will get is like 10x at any point of your time in your journey.
The listeners might not know, but I would love to bring this up. Vishal, as a founder, I have seen a lot of founders' journey, by the way, and not many founders are as hands-on as Vishal, but he brings the balance of both the worlds. He is amazing entrepreneur and he is super super technical also, and he brings both the worlds together. So I want to understand from you, Vishal, that what happens when a user, or for example, when I am writing a prompt on Rocket, once I write the prompt and hit the enter, exactly what happens? Like what magic, if you can unfold and share the secret juice with us, what actually happens? Like share me everything, like repos to libraries to infra to the accuracy, the latency, and everything.
It's like for us, it's a 20 minutes of an excitement when user hit the prompt, and in that 15 to 20 minutes, like lots of thing is going to happen for the user in the background. So it's like just imagine like rocket is like lifting off when the 10 9
The
8
countdown goes.
countdown goes on. So ultimately, like after that lift off, what is happening? So when user put the prompt, we have like a very comprehensive architecture, underlying architecture, which is like a very unique in itself, and like a very different than like all the vibe coding platform available in the market. And that's why we took like 15 minutes to 20 minutes of time instead of like just generating the first result in 2 to 3 minutes. And what we are doing is like we have our own DL models, we have our own like proprietary data sets. So ultimately a rocket truly understand like for what requirement, what kind of a layout needs to be there. And ultimately that's where the entire magic happens. So whenever we receive any prompt on a system automatically identify like okay, what is the category, subcategory, and even like at the tertiary level, what is that kind of a category that user wants to build. If there is like any conflict in the prompt, we ask the counter questions like okay, if user doesn't mention about like mobile app or web app, we ask questions like okay, what really he wants to build, like internal tool, dashboard, or mobile or web application, and what particular framework he wants to build that. So ultimately that's classification happen at the very early level. Then we do a detailed research about that particular prompt, and we suggest like okay, what kind of features as a user you want to build, because like that's where we want to involve users input.
Mm.
It's like not we are surprising them with the dashboard every time. So ultimately that's where we suggest like okay, for this kind of an application you can build a like 4 features or a 10 features, 12 features, depends on the kind of an comprehensiveness of the input that user is putting inside the rocket platform. And after we got that confirmation, like what we are doing is like as I said, like we have our own DL models, we have our own auto prompting engine. So ultimately we generate like lots of metadata in between, like it's in 7 to 8 stage of a metadata that we are generating, then processing all the data to generate a new prompt every time. And that prompt hits the foundational model, and that's where the code generation happened. And at the end, like after 25 minutes or 20 minutes, depends on the prompts, sometimes it just happened like 5 to 7 minutes if you're building just a landing page. So then we generate the code, then we have like our own algorithms to merge the code and everything in the efficient way, and then user can see the results. So it's like in the 25 minutes of time we are doing like maybe a 250 hours of work for our users, from analysis to everything possible for our users, where we can generate the proper results, like the kind of a responsive code and all. So this is just a summary of like a very detailed architecture and a 4 year of learning that we developed during the device time, from Figma to code and everything. So ultimately I can just tell this as a brief summary because we don't have a time, but would love to write a technical blog on this, like okay, what exactly, what kind of a magic is happening in the background to generate the right result for our users.
Also, I want to double down on the kind of use cases and the verticals and the domains Rocket can support. But before that, I also want to highlight that Rocket is one of the few platforms which actually supports mobile app building.
Okay, so right now users are building a very serious applications like in e-commerce, healthcare, in the travel space, mental health space is something which is like super surprising for us. Then the fintech and the B2B internal tool application. So like we see a range of applications like built by our users on our platform. But like there are two things. We are the platform who supports multiple framework for web and mobile app part. And the fundamental reason behind supporting this tools is like okay, as I said, like from the very early days of like Rocket, we wants to help users to build a serious application. And if I'm saying like okay, you can build an e-commerce application on a platform, that cannot be on any random HTML code, that must needs to be on the Next.js, because that's how you can scale the application, that's how you can do SEO. If you are building a mobile application, you cannot put all the applications in a PWA layer, and just wrap it around like mobile and the Android and the iOS version. The reason is like, okay, you need to access the camera, you need to access the location, map, everything, and those are the native
Mm.
capabilities of a device which you need to explore. Otherwise, you will not able to deliver the right results. And that's the reason like we use our code orchestration engine, where we are able to generate the multi-framework code. For a mobile, we are supporting the Flutter. Very soon it's going to be React Native. For a web, we are supporting HTML, React, Next.js. So depends on your use case. If you are just building a small landing page, we'll auto pick the HTML. If you are building a detailed comprehensive dashboards and the internal tool, we automatically pick the React. If you are building a front facing application, it will be in the Next.js. So we are very careful while our users are building the applications. And as I said, if they want to hit the production, it's not about like putting any random code on the production. It's about the code that help them to solve the day two problem. And
Mhm.
that's why that was the entire fundamental behind like selection of like our tech stack, selection of our like choice of our workflows and everything, to give a kind of a power to our users so they can really reduce the time and take their entire application to a production.
Of course, you can build the production ready applications with Rocket, but many tools out there, if you use them, they basically the output is Figma prototypes. Whereas in Rocket, you can
Yes.
actually upload the Figma prototypes and it can generate the production ready applications. Tell us more about that and what is the future like? What all are you going to support to have that production ready application sooner or faster?
So even before moving there, like I just want to highlight one thing which I forget in the last answer. Like 50% of our users are building a mobile application and 50% is web application. And surprisingly, what we see is like the people who are already having a website building on like Supabase using any other platform. Now this users wants a mobile application for them, and we have a particular feature where you can use your existing Supabase. So these guys are like moving towards like a Rocket platform, and they are building a mobile application which for which like they build already website on some other
Mhm.
platform, and now they realize the capabilities of the entire platform, and now they are building the web application as well on our platform. So this is something that we truly created in a really good way. Now if I come to a Figma part, Figma is like one of the most complex things that I ever seen, because like Figma just give us like 5 elements, a circle, triangle, rectangle, line, and text on the XY position, and now we need to define like, okay, what is a button, what is going to be drawer and everything. That's where our own DL library come into picture. So ultimately when someone uploads the Figma design, we process it through our DL models, we generate the kind of a JSON, and then we generate the entire code. Now for the production ready code, there are like 2 to 3 things. Do you want to take this designing code that we generate, design code that we generated for you to a production by doing a manual modification? That's a separate topic. Another part like, okay, will you allow me to do all kind of an integration and take this code to a production? That is a separate part. So right now what we are doing is like fully focusing on the front end side. We have a very clear intention. We don't want to get it into back end very soon. Like what we want to solve is the right front end part, and it must be a backend agnostic. So right now we are using the Supabase. Maybe in future we will launch the support of Firebase and whatever requests we are getting. On the other side, like, okay, doesn't matter what database you are using at your end. It can be MongoDB, Postgres, or MySQL or anything. You can just bring the REST APIs and you can build the entire application on our platform. And that's where we truly believe, if we just focus on this one part in next 2 to 3 months, you can build any kind of an front end applications with any kind of an integrations using our platform, and that must be a production ready, because that code will be like a test driven develop code on the based on the philosophy of like TDD. Plus we will make sure like it's 100% secure, accessible, and also our north star is that like, okay, how we can make sure we have a really production ready code where we can say you have a power of a 20-year of experience sitting in a Google or a Walmart or somewhere else in your pocket. So when you generate the code, it will be like a very equivalent
Mhm.
quality. So right now we are constantly working on that research, like how we can hit that thing
Mhm.
first, and then we'll think about like, okay, do we want to get into backend side, or do we just need to optimize this thing a lot, so ultimately user can, any kind of an user, doesn't matter enterprise, Fortune 100 company, or a small farmer sitting in the Brazil, everyone can use the application, and they can get that feeling like, okay, this is the right platform for me, which is not just helping me to solve the problem, but on the tech side, on the coding side, whenever I get it reviewed, I always get the satisfaction. So that's the ultimate goal.
Builders are using Rocket all over the world. And as you said, whether it's an enterprise or any entrepreneur or solo consumer, Rocket is the right solution for you. Tell me one story of any customer that give you aha moment that you saw, oh my God, This is something that truly makes sense to build Rocket.
There are many. So to be honest, like I cannot do a justice to this question if I just covered one story. So I already shared a New York user story. And the other day, I was having a coffee with a one user when I received the email, and the first two lines in my notification was that great. I said like, okay, can you just wait? I want to see this email. And then at that time, like I was somewhere in San Mateo, having my tea with one of our power user at that time. Fortunately, now he joined us for a full time. That's a different story to tell. So I got the goosebump when I received the email. Like when in that email, that user was saying like he's a farmer in a Brazil, wants to build a, and by background he know little bit of a product, but he never had a money where he can build the product a product for the farmers, and he really wants to enhance their life. And he started using Rocket. He built the application. He was very happy and sharing the feedback. And then at the end of mail, he wrote like, okay, I do not understand the English.
Wow.
Can you create a documentation or a videos in a Portuguese language? And I was like, seriously, he put the effort to translate all our English documentations to his language to understand, and then he built the application, and then he was like that happy. He was doing that communication over a mail, and every mail he wrote like, I don't know the English, so I translate it. So it may have some grammatical error and all. And we both were using a translation to just communicate with each other. When we went on a call, like we used literally a Zoom, that language converter and all. And still, after having like hundreds of trouble to do a communication with the user, we were happy. Still, we are doing a communication, and that's the power of AI. That's the power of a good product, where people are ready to take that pain
Yeah.
of like language translation to everything. Another user who is in she is in Brazil. I just forget the location. She is like medical researcher. She started using Rocket in very early days. Even like we did before the kind of in public launch and all. Uh, and when we were like, when we look at that kind of an data points and the users, and we were thinking like she must be a very technical person, the way she was using the product and all. And after some time she said like, okay, do you have a feature where I can export the APK files? And we said like, no, we don't have, but you can just download the code and you can just do it at yourself. And at that time she said like, okay, I'm a non-technical person, I don't know anything. And
Wow.
then we went on a call and we realized she is a medical researcher. And she said like, okay, whenever I have a difficulty to explain any chapter to my students, now I'm building an application for that. And we were like super surprised how someone in a medical research field can build an application which can impact the students' lives. And it was like mind blowing experience when we heard that entire story and all. Recently, someone from a research field reached out to us. He said like, okay, I built total 63 vibe coded application
Oh, wow.
across almost all the platform of the world. And then the last line is like, okay, but when I tried Rocket, it blew my
Mm.
mind. And I said like, why I wasted my time for a 63 applications on the other platform? Why I didn't discover the Rocket at the first place? So when someone says like, okay, they move from a product of built by $1 billion company or a $3 billion company or something else to a Rocket, which is like just a new startup, a 4 month old startup, and still they loved it. That's something which give us kind of a goosebump every time. So we have like hundreds of such kind of stories in just like first 4 month of our progress, but like looking forward to create millions of such stories.
Love that. So, users, if you're building any applications with Rocket, send us the stories. And I'm telling you honestly, Vishal reads every story. He reads every email. So, if you have a story to tell, share with us, and we would love to showcase on the Rocket website also.
I just don't read the stories. I read all the feedback. So
Feedback.
whenever you sign up on our platform, you will receive an email. And when someone replied, like I personally read all the emails. And in the age of AI, it's like it's difficult to believe. And like many times I receive the email, I know you're not going to read my email. This is AI generated mail, and but still I want to share the feedback. And in reply, I say like, okay, I'm reading it really. Do you want me to make mistakes? Do you want to add the humor in this email? I literally respond like that. Like, okay, how you will believe? Like, I'm a real human being who is reading your email and answering your question, and then how? the conversation started, and I'm telling upfront, like we read all the emails of our users. Every email we got, definitely we are not able to do it in real time, but in a 24 to 48 hours of window, we generally do respond.
And Vishal, you also mentioned about when you were just talking about the user who was using 63 other tools and then finally landed on Rocket and then loved the platform. So I want to understand from you, with the other competitors, what edge Rocket provides to its customers?
Two main thing. One is that comprehensiveness, the kind of things that we are able to generate from the one particular input. The support of a long context windows, ultimately, as I said, like after 30th message or 40th message, generally platforms start breaking. That's where Rocket do wonders. Like, okay, you can really build a good integrations and everything. And second part is like that support, that human touch. When you feel like, okay, you require someone, like we will be there. So these two things are working really, really well for us, and we want to scale it to a next level.
Awesome. And I also want to understand from you that with this new fuel from Excel and Salesforce Ventures, it's a fresh fuel. So what changes for Rocket? And we want more users to use Rocket and more often and whatnot. But that also comes with a cost for the users. What do you have to say about the pricing, the token usage, and what does it mean for the for users?
Yeah, see, to build something meaningful and produce a result, definitely there is a LLM cost and everything. We are optimizing our cost every day. It's all about what kind of an input as a user you are putting inside the system. If you put a very broad request, definitely it will take more context, it will do a more research, our system will do more research, and it will consume more token. If you are very clear in your mind what you want to build on the system, just try to take some time, think about that input and give it to a system. That's where you will get a very less hallucinated result, or maybe a zero hallucination. You will get the right result, we will do a right stuff. So definitely, like, pricing is not going to change a lot, but what we are going to do is like taking all that cognitive load of crafting the prompt, and that's where user is making a mistake. So we are constantly thinking about, like, okay, how will help users to build a right input, so ultimately we can generate the right results, and that's where we can provide them a cost efficient solution. Another part is like, maybe we'll give them a prediction, like, okay, if you want to build a full fledged this kind of an application, what kind of a token we'll utilize, and ultimately that's how they can plan it better. So these are like two things that we have in top of the mind, which we are doing right now, and very soon we will put it in the production.
Awesome. But just like any other user for whom pricing and the tokens might be the concern, but when it comes to enterprises, these concerns are different. There you are more worried about the governance, the compliance, the accessibility, the security, who owns the code, owns data and whatnot. How are you winning confidence of CIOs and CTOs of enterprises?
It's very early days, so I cannot say like we are winning confidence, but yeah, definitely we have an intention to win the confidence. So we are, from the day one, we are like GDPR, ISO, SOC 2 compliant company. We take all our standards very seriously, and we are like super transparent when it comes to a pricing part. Like when you read the documentation, even in our pricing page, we tell upfront our users like what we are going to use for our training part, what we are not going to use. So we are not hiding our terms and conditions somewhere in our documentations and the privacy policy terms and conditions, which no one generally read in this world. So that's the one part. Another, for the CIOs and all, it's all about like, okay, they tried the solution first, and another part is like, okay, how we are going to create a very big impact inside their organization. That is something that they're looking for at the first time. And as I said, we are like, for the rest of the part, like we are GDPR SOC 2 compliant company, and we are taking all the standards very seriously, and that's why they allowed us. So in the first 4 months of journey, to be honest, like what they liked in us is the solution that we are providing, and now we are going to enter into discussion of like all the security part, accessibility part and all. But as our north star metrics is to generate that kind of an code and build that kind of an like platform where we'll help them to create everything with the compliances and all. We definitely know like we are going to win in this particular segment, with this particular part of a world where people take compliances very seriously.
And with compliances, I also know that, as you said, right, the team was working for 30 plus hours. What you have achieved in 4 months is also not, it's not a joke for sure. And going forward also, the how the roadmap looks like. Sometimes I know you have a plan to release every 2 weeks and also sometimes every week. How are you planning to balance the velocity and the chaos and with the speed?
So it's very simple. Like we have like three kind of in pods. One pods is like only look at the future. Like okay, we have the vibe solutioning, we have a vision. How our team will be aligned to that particular vision? What features will launch, which will help us to really get at our vision, which may be like 2 to 3 months long sprints and all. So ultimately, that's in kind of an advanced sprints that we are running right now. So ultimately, at the time we can roll out the feature. So for the end user, it's going to be like every 2 week release. But for us, it's like a very strategic distribution of the work. One team is constantly working on the user feedback. We check all the emails, we take all the feedback very personally, and like how we can improve a system where we can consume less token and deliver more, which is like every small sprint where we want to just crush out the bug, we just want to produce the right results and the contextual results where we fine tune the data, we will improve, we constantly improve our results, which is another port. And the third port is like okay, how we can build a small features which can support our users initiatives. It can be simple features like in collaboration, very simple features like integrations and all. So ultimately that's where the third port come into picture. So we distribute our entire, so we organize our entire work, and the kind of an org structure that we are having help us to move very fast. So for our users it's like everyday release, but it's not like we just work on for a 7 days on that particular feature. It's like a long 2 to 3 months of a feature, or maybe a 1 month of feature, depends like what kind of an complexity we are handling at that particular level. But that's how with this three port, like a future centric port, a port for the support, and port for like a current set of features, is something which helping us to move very fast in this vibe solution space.
So in this space, Vishal, I know it's a competitive market and you cannot share a lot of things right now. But is there anything that you can share with us, with the users, what they can look for and what will help them?
The only thing is like okay, how we can take all the, so whatever feature we launch, there will be only one thing which you can see, how we are going to take your cognitive load from you, is something that we always believe. So let me give you an example. Like I will not talk about the feature because otherwise I will kill that entire excitement of releasing that feature, and my team is going to kill me for that. So we'll not talk about the feature, but like I can just simply say, we, all the platform, all the competitors is having the prompting guidelines, and they are constantly pushing you towards like reading their prompting guidelines and all. And in our discussion we were like brutally discussing why user needs to read our documentation,
Mm.
why they need to get into a prompting techniques and all, why we cannot just remove the entire prompt from the life cycle, which is like a very bold and a big claim,
Oh,
like
yeah.
okay, saying like okay, you don't need to worry about prompting guidelines, we will help you to do that. Now how we are going to do that? For that you just need to stay tuned to our social media channels where we will talk about this like our upcoming release and everything. And that's going to be a feature where in long term will remove the prompting complexity from the user's life.
Mm.
And this is just in one example, but every time whenever we are thinking about the new feature, we are constantly discussing this thing like okay, without a prompting knowledge, without getting into a documentation, how user will able to generate a zero hallucinated result with a very less token consumption. So this is the kind of an underlying theme that we are having. We are working constantly on that, and like in next every 15 days we are going to roll out a very big features based on this particular theme.
Oh, wow. That sounds exciting. So, Vishal, I'm going to take the cognitive load off you now, and we're going to get into the lightning round. The
Okay.
lightning round means the latency should be absolutely low.
Okay.
You cannot take time to think for answers, and you have to like, it's like a coffee with Karan rapid fire round. You have to be absolutely fast at a right rocket lightning speed.
Okay, I will try.
In this AI native world, you yourself building AI native platform, which is your favorite AI application, or which is the tool that you swear by,
Tool that I use every day is super difficult.
you use the most?
Mm, that's the problem. So that's okay.
You
It's
can't say rocket, by the way.
no. This is rapid fire round. So, but I'm taking a liberty as a CEO to answer this question in difference. So I never use one tool for one thing. I always in this world of like noise, and you need to figure out the signal, and that's why like I use a multiple tool for the same thing, and then I always try to evaluate like okay, for which particular question which tool is the best. Sometimes like okay, even for a chat GPT, Claude, Grok, I have all the subscriptions, and like for one thing I'm using Grok, but for the another part I'm using the OpenAI, for another part I'm using the uh, Claude and all. So ultimately That's why I'm not able to answer this question in a very lightning speed, because I'm using all the tools every day in a very different way. So
Hmm.
sorry, I'm not able to answer it, but
Let's just loosen it a little bit.
yeah.
You can take your time now. If there is a hoarding of your name in Silicon Valley, what would that say?
A first astronaut of rocket ship,
Oh, I love that. Nice one. All right. A rocket fuel, chai, or coffee?
rocket fuel, chai, and then coffee.
Okay, like that. Um, any myth about vibe coding and not vibe solutioning, but definitely vibe coding that you would like to break?
You can build a production grade application in a vibe coding platform, and you can scale it to a $3 million ARR in just 1 week. That's a myth.
Oh, there goes your headline.
That's a myth. I don't believe in fake stories.
Awesome. What would you prefer? A coffee chat with a customer or a nice dinner with a VC?
Always customers.
So Vishal brings amazing skills of entrepreneurship and being technical, but you also have two fabulous co-founders. Would love to know more about them also, and how did you like find them? Like, it's very hard to find a partner right now. You found amazing co-founders.
Fabulous is a very nice word. They are super nerdy, what I would say. They always keep me awake in night. And I have like two co-founder who, one co-founder is like a full day person, a very focused. Another is like full night person. And I'm thinking like, okay, you both are keeping me awake for a 24 hours, because you both are like very different people. But like, okay, one is my college friend, one was my advisor in my past venture, and now we are working together as a co-founder. And I really enjoy my company, because uh, my CTO and me like with each other from the college days. So it's been like 17 years of journey, a conflict free journey that we are enjoying. And yes, and that's the kind of inspiration. It's not just about my co-founder, but our entire crew. A rocket cockpit crew is like with each other from so many years. So it's always feel like, okay, we are knowing each other. The decision making is super fast. We don't need to convince each other. We just keep our ego aside. We just make the right decision for our users. We make the right decisions for the rocket. What matters is like, okay, how this company is going to create a very big impact in the world from the Surat is the only thing that we believe. And that's how we make a decision. So I enjoy my time. And now we got the new two guys in US office, and like when we interact with them, it doesn't feel like, okay, we those are like new folks. Like we shared like dinner, you know how we work and all. And uh, it's been like, okay, still we feel like you are with us from last so many years. So that's how we work, and that's the kind of culture that I want to build it for my entire
But
organization.
I would definitely add to that. The entire credit goes to Vishal and the culture he has built at the company, because he is literally like a magnet. He basically holds everybody together, and especially the co-founders and the entire Rocket crew. And I'm so glad and fortunate to be part of the team. But now I'm gonna take a liberty here a little bit. I know a little bit about you, but I would love to know more. So share one thing that maybe even the existing rocket crew does not know about you.
Oh, I'm like an open book. Everyone knows everything about me, because like I'm super talkative when it comes to my core group. And I don't know what they don't know about me. That's the biggest fact. Uh, you are asking me a hard question. I'm feeling like, okay, I'm not doing a podcast with my core team member. I'm doing a podcast with some reporter who is just trying to create the controversy around my life. Uh,
No controversies.
to be honest, like there is nothing that my team don't know.
Okay.
Because like we are so close with each other. We shared all ups and downs. Sometimes I get super frustrated with the situation. They are the people who just come with me, just sit beside me and keeping me calm. uh, and like I shared everything, almost everything with my team members. So there is like nothing that I can say like they don't know.
All right, Vishal. Initially, we gave you a little bit of time, but now is the ultra lightning round. I cannot give you any time now. You have to be super quick at a rocket speed this time. So let's do it now. Ready?
Let me try.
All right. Here comes the first question. Day one or day two? Which excites you more?
Day two, obviously.
Your favorite rocket feature, which is already launched.
Comprehensiveness.
And what's faster, rocket's build speed or your WhatsApp replies?
10x rocket build speed.
Okay. Early morning or late night founder?
Early morning.
If you're not building Rocket, what are you building?
Maybe some interior designing firm.
Elon Musk or Steve Jobs? Whose style resonates with you?
Steve Jobs.
If Rocket was a movie, which genre would it be?
Adventure.
Wow. And one emoji that defines you.
Rocket.
Oh, like that.
So now let me add the funny thing over here. So like all my core team member. So when I save the name, actually I edited all the names and I put the rocket emoji at the back. And I say now whenever I want to search any name, I just search the rock. I just like search the rocket emoji and like I have all my core members in front of me. So
Awesome.
this is my new speed dial. Just at the rocket.
Vishal, thank you so much for giving us a front row seat at the rocket's liftoff. And listeners, remember, it's not about faster code, it's about giving confidence on day two and beyond. If this conversation sparked curiosity, try Rocket's templates, import a Figma, or spin up a mobile demo in minutes. See how it feels to go from idea to production without leaving your orbit.